Hello and welcome to episode 12 of our Timberborn 1.0 full release playthrough with the Folktales faction on the Down the Plug Hole map, Cycle 17, Day 10. Last episode we started the process of reorganizing this area to be a better industrial area with better power, a more efficient layout, and less of whatever in the world that is. They're going to keep working on this, and we're going to allow them to do so. But there are a number of things you guys brought up in the comments that I don't want to forget to discuss here. First of all, since it's on screen, there is a geothermal field here. We could possibly connect if we felt like it. Bunch of trees over here, a bunch of berries, all this other good stuff. Over in this area, we have a couple of things to address. First of all, we go down here. We have, technically, bad water pump here, bad water pump here. This hasn't been finished yet. And I was given an idea that I think would be worth considering, and that is to, instead of having this bad water pump here, get rid of that thing, put in a couple of platforms, and instead move our explosive production to be right here as well. Because, well, we already have power coming out of this. It's making 567 currently. This will take, no, it doesn't tell me. This will take 200, this will take 200, and this will take 150. So, I don't have to be a math genius to tell you that that does not add up to a number that is greater than 567 HP. So this will be totally fine. The only issue that's going to cause is this one bad water pump cannot supply all three of these buildings at the same time. So we have a few options for this. We can wait until we have a drought and we can tunnel more of this out, widen or deepen this whole thing so we have less of a flooding risk, and then put another bad water pump over here. But right now, every hour the beavers are actually working, we get 3 bad water. Every hour, one centrifuge consumes about 5-ish, because 3/4 of an hour is 4. And we have 2 of those, which means every 3/4 of an hour the centrifuges are going to take 8. And then we also have the explosives factory, which consumes a lot less. But every hour, this will take, we'll call it 2 for ease of comparison. So we're already sitting right around the maybe 12, 13 bad water per hour range. And as a reminder, this one will give us 3. So we will need, ideally, assuming constant production, constant use of materials, whatever, we'd need 4 of these. Now, we don't have to, because there is going to come a certain point when we're not going to need centrifuges operating constantly. We're not going to need explosives factories operating constantly. And that is, maybe we should use automation to take care of that at some point. But for right now, I think this is our best option. I'm going to keep this centrifuge paused, because we don't need 2 of them. And we can kind of run, maybe this one we can just run with 1 beaver, so it's going to, take a little bit less power, a little bit less resources. Actually, no, I don't think the power is going to change at all, but it will take fewer resources because it's, well, not going to have as much manpower in there, which is a different type of power. Another thing that's worth discussing is we could, and I think I did say something about this before, we could widen this to 4 blocks wide and then line the entire thing with water wheels. And that would generate an absolutely prodigious quantity of power. So much so that I don't think it would be possible for us to even use it. But now I kind of want to do that, because I think that's absurd enough to, make worth doing in a video. But for right now, no. I wanted to discuss it before I forgot, because, well, I think that's kind of a neat idea. We also need to do something about this area over here. It is having a little bit too much throughput to really go through this hole and this hole here. We'll get there. I do still want to do the sewer idea that was proposed, where we stack the good water on top of the bad water, and then when we bring in all of these aquifers, we can, actually get this to have a nice reservoir. So that should take care of most of what we need to discuss over here. We're not going to get to basically any of this for a while. We also, over here, have a dirt excavator that is, well, excavating dirt. We have the geothermal engine powering both this and an aquifer. But now we have the problem of not having enough power to support both of these at the same time. We could, just say, Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? And honestly, it kind of doesn't. But we can also, should we choose to do this, take this dam out and instead kind of widen this a little bit and put in a single water wheel right here. Actually, I might not need to widen it at all if I just take that dam out. It'd make a little bit of power, and we could, of course, you know, get the power shafts gone all the way across here. I probably would want to rotate this. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't matter. I could just have this come back this way. I don't know. I already feel the unnecessary complication rearing its ugly head. But that is an idea that we can come back to. You know, let me know your thoughts on that. But an issue we have right now is we have 13 beavers, and we do not have basically anywhere for them to go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beds. I'm pretty sure it's only 6. We can just check instead of me guessing. We have 7. Okay. But 13 is more than 7. And yes, eventually the problem will go away, but, you know, people don't like that. So, easiest thing for us to do is just put in a bunch of these over here. Let them build that, and then at some point, if we want to build a little beaver hospital, we can. But this should probably be a priority. I'll just put another 10 in, because I'm sure it's going to get worse. Since we are... Well, we weren't on the topic. I guess I should just say changing the topic. There's a very good post by Rusty Shackelford in the comments section giving a little bit more information about how beavers consume water and food. And the gist of it is, we pretty much shouldn't bother putting small warehouses or any warehouses for food by the zipline stations. Water, yes. But the beavers are not really going to get that much more from having food out here than they would from going anywhere else. So... I'm going to remove the food storage that I've put in, and we'll come back and modify a bunch of this. I really wasn't happy with that anyway, so it's good to see that there's actual, you know, people who understand how this works researching this and giving some helpful information there. I'm going to try to remember to put the comment in the video screenshot, but it's on the previous episode if you want to go find that. Outside of that, we could get rid of the long paths between zipline stations, and I do think in some instances that is worth doing. But the beavers probably aren't going to bother taking the path anyway unless they need to get to something that is off of the path. So I don't really see much of a benefit to getting rid of it, since we've already built all this. But that is, you know, something we could do, should we deem that necessary. I think, based on what I was telling you guys last episode, we probably should focus on completing this, or mostly completing it, improving this mess, and just going from there. Now, I do want to do bots in this playthrough before we're done, which means we will need a pretty substantial quantity of lumber mills, gear workshops, and smelters. And remember what I said about wanting to use the raft mod to help us in that regard. And I think this would be, as we're designing this, a good opportunity to kind of make provisions for that. I don't have the mod installed yet. I was going to wait until, you know, it was pretty much guaranteed that 1.0 wasn't going to have any crazy feature changes. And since we're coming up on a month, I think it's probably safe to assume we're not going to get anything else that's super crazy until, if there's another update after that. I don't, Mechanistry hasn't said anything about it, but I would imagine they're probably not done with the game. But I probably, maybe within the next week or two, get that mod installed and get it integrated in here, because I really do want to play with it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. From what I've looked at, though, it basically requires you to build kind of a guideway for the rafts, and they have to obviously be able to float. So there will be situations like, say, right here where this goes down, we'll have to build kind of a ramp guideway thing. Then maybe change these over to bridges or something, because I don't know exactly how the collision works. But I think we should incorporate into this area at least one spot where we can put a station for them to unload rafts, and then so on and so forth. So just, we'll keep that in mind. But I think along the backside here is going to be a good place for us to have a pretty robust set of lumber mills, and then maybe not necessarily wood workshops, because we do have this set up, if I can remember, yeah, right here. I like the idea of kind of keeping this localized around the pines, and then, of course, we can also stick these on a raft, should we so choose, and send it back down that way. But just, this will remain isolated. I know we don't have this running right now, because I don't have a need for a tremendous quantity of tree planks. But we'll get there. Another thing we should discuss, underground piles probably, these aren't, but underground piles probably shouldn't be used as a supply thing, which I had not considered. None of these are, I need to find one of these that's actually set like that. I can't remember. Is it over here with these logs? No. Okay, well then, am I just nuts? Well, regardless, apparently that was a problem I needed to solve, but I can't find any instance of me actually doing it. If we have any of these set to supply and they're super remote, then beavers are going to go all over the map looking for things to put in here, because this is a supply, like from one of these producing things. So, I clicked on a bunch of these. I don't see any that are set to supply, so I'm not going to say you're wrong, because it's very likely that I'm also wrong, and I just haven't figured out that I'm wrong yet. But we'll keep that in mind. We'll try to keep that in mind. So let's get this on triple speed. We do still have to build all of these water wheels. We've got wind turbines here, and we are going to need to do something about power storage, which we can do with gravity batteries. And, somebody told me the flywheels mod might be updated too. So when we get around to the point of actually bringing the mods in and retrofitting some of this stuff, I really do want to use the flywheels if that does work. So we'll see. But we can also, kind of do this with the whole gravity battery thing in mind. We can build a little tower, blast some holes here. But what I'm going to do right now, just because, honestly, there's not really any reason not to, I'm going to have them time-lapse this, build more of these wheels, get some of this stuff taken care of, get us a little bit further along in the process, and see what's going to come next. Because if it is a drought, then we definitely want to go over to that side of the dam, try and get in there and improve the tunneling, improve various things, and get that area set up for a better success. But we won't know until we know. So we'll let the beavers do what they got to do and catch up in just a little bit. Alright, so they finished all of these wheels. We do have a bad tide coming, which could possibly cause us some issues. So let's go over here and take a closer look. Remember, when a bad tide starts, we have these things right here. These bad water drains, bad tide drains, will all turn on at the same time, and of course dump more bad water down via the bottom of this tunnel. Now, currently, we are not overflowing, but I fear that we could have the possibility of that being an issue. We won't know until it happens, so we are unfortunately going to have to just kind of wait and see. I had thought about maybe putting a gate in here tied to a level indicator on how deep this is, so we know if it's about to overflow, then cut it off. But you can't put gates on zipline stations. And the only way we could really prevent that is to put a gate on this tile and just completely block out all of this. I don't think we need to. We're going to monitor the situation. We're going to see what happens. I need to set this to explosives for sure. And then I need to have a storage for those. But seeing how this is set up for us to have a bad tide coming in, I kind of don't want anybody having a reason to be over here. So we're going to see what happens, I guess. Just so that's out in the open there. There are still things that I'd like to do over here, but somebody forgot to hook up the paths that were going to allow this to be, what it was supposed to be. So recognizing that, let's fix that. Let's put in a large wind turbine here. And then I also, yeah, there we go. I need to get this blasted out. K for kaboom. The only reason I'm doing that is so this can flow just a little bit better through these wheels here. So that's about 250. Yeah, it went up a little bit, went down a little bit. That's looking good. About 250. These should be... Okay, these are a little higher. I obviously have to have some here as well. But they are hot to trot with these things. Let's get large wind turbines in here. Talk about how I want to design this area. Design being a term used extremely loosely, if you're familiar with how I end up playing this half the time. And then putting in some sort of provision for gravity batteries, and making sure that we're going to have the ability to actually make enough of those. Because this right now is not cutting the mustard, folks. I do like the idea of this being mostly just for wood processing. We're going to just bring a whole bunch of logs in from our foresting outskirts here that we do still kind of have to do something with. But eventually we're going to need to have metal processing and stuff done elsewhere. So we can either just have all of these attached to mines and use those same rafts to get the raw materials in. Let's get this off of triple speed, because I do want to see how this affects this area here, because now we've got all those coming in. This is currently... yeah, this might actually become an issue. It is creeping up. Try not to zoom in too much, because then it gets too loud. It looks like this might... Yeah, okay, so this is now flooded. It's good to know. Good to know. So here's what has to happen. No more anything else. We're just going to take away that. Get these beavers out of here, man. Because this is going to pulse back and forth. It might not flood, but it's going to pulse back and forth, and I think now that that's completely disconnected, we shouldn't have any issues. Now, I could put a gate here, but honestly, there's no point, because this does the exact same thing, and I don't have to spend 5 minutes of a video getting mad at automation. We will fix this in time. And you know, it's possible this isn't even an issue either. But for how things are right now, I don't think we really need to worry about it. Let's come back over here. They are working very hard on this. I was going to propose the idea of just bringing all the raw materials all the way down here. We can honestly get rid of this. And then just having a massive construction complex over here. Or, even though we don't really have any power generation ability here or here, short of putting a water wheel through this mess, we could make things on this side. There is one place, basically the only spot we could actually do that would be here. Because there is an underground ruins thing here. We can have this tied to this geothermal thing, and we could have a water wheel here, or we could put a couple of them in. That is an option. But I think based on how the rest of this is going, and because I really want to use that raft mod, I think it's going to be the most fun option. And fun is also, you know, one of the goals of playing games like this. So I think it would be more fun to just have the raw materials shipped into a big central manufacturing area. At least for the metal. So now they've got this going. We're waiting on gears. I guess... Yes, I still have a bunch of injured beavers. I honestly need more beavers to do what I want to do. This is all done here. I kind of want to have just a big long row of stuff right here. I could, depending on how this is set, because these are the tall ones. Okay, that actually doesn't fit. I thought it might let me do that. Yes, we'll need 3 blocks ahead of all of these, which means... Yeah, you know, I'm gonna make this accessible around here. I'll get a double all the way there. That should be fine. And then I do need one more here. So we are altering the landscape. Pray I do not alter it further. But I do not think that will be effective, because I'm still going to keep doing it. All right. That is going to require that we give these guys a way to get up. I almost said upstairs without building stairs. But yeah, we're just going to need to make sure that's possible. It looks like the easiest way to do that is just going to be pop these in here. That shouldn't be hard. And then just to build a whole bunch of stuff, get this thing rolling, and of course give a way to get over this side, and then put these other wheels back in place. Because right now, you know, they're not generating any power, but we do have the wind turbines that can do that. The buildings will attach all of these together, no worries about that. And then when we put gravity batteries in, then hopefully You know, because we're on normal mode, the maximum length of a bad tide or a drought is 9 days. Shouldn't be an issue. But as we all know, it does in fact just take time. And this is still contaminated. I had made a comment about, you know, needing to put in contamination barriers. And there was some discussion about those and the necessity of doing all of that. But since these are... Okay, those are seedlings. Okay, good. That makes it less complicated. I am going to have this go all the way around. And I'm going to have that go all the way around. And I believe I should be able to do something like this. That does go there. Since this is currently used as a retention pond, I guess it doesn't really matter. But I do want to see if they can actually build this. I don't know that they can, because I don't have enough power going to basically any of this. We are generating a little bit. Oh, we're generating over 1,000. Okay, that's going to be totally fine. We're not going to be in trouble. This centrifuge does not need to be here. I will pause it. This, not that. Explosives factory can be paused. I'm not going to delete it because it's load bearing in terms of, you know, getting electricity. It's not electricity. Power. In the sense of mechanical force, because that's how this game works. It's only been 5 years. Don't worry, I'll get it eventually. This has not flooded. It's actually stayed... Minus that initial bit, it's actually stayed pretty consistent like that. Which on one hand, that's good. That means we don't need to expand this, but I do feel compelled to do that. Let's put this back in, because I do think we're going to want to have access to all of these things. Make sure we've got what we have to have going. I've got 1,000 dirt. That's good, because we're going to use dirt to do dam repairs. And before I really commit to doing this, I want to make sure I can actually do it properly. This exploded in a very specific way. I'm not going to do this during a bad tide because, you know, that's going to mess with the physics of everything. But once we're in a drought, we'll come over here and we'll engineer mastermind this. We'll probably have to build it one layer at a time because I guarantee you they're going to do it the wrong order. And I've never in my life been able to get these terrain blocks to behave the way I want them to. So I'm not going to try and waste your time by doing that in a video. This is not reachable. Let's K for kaboom. I can put that one in. This one, fortunately, is good. Alright, now I've got this that can be removed. I've got that can be removed. And now it's time for a little bit of math. What I'm going to do, because this is going to be where all of those things will come down, we're going to have to modify this a tiny bit. But that's where the rafts are going to get unloaded. The first step is to transform them into planks. Everything we're making from a log has to first be made into a plank. Gear Workshop, actually no, not the paper mill. So most things, before they get turned into something else from being a log, have to be made into a plank. And we probably actually need to work backwards based on what we're trying to do with it. But yeah, I need one of those every 3 hours. So one lumber mill, somebody did the math for this. I can't ever remember what the ratio is for folktales correctly, but if I go ahead and put in, I guess, is this the correct way? Is that supposed to be on the right? Sure, we'll roll with that. I'm going to build based on a worst case scenario thing, and we can automate it with resource counters based on levels of demand. But if I put a bunch of these in here and have it set up in such a way where we can actually have robust, quick manufacturing if we need it, and if we don't need it, then not that, I think that's going to be to our tremendous benefit later on. But we do need them to come over here and actually get this taken care of. So what's going to go across from these guys, I've got 6 of these lumber mills going in, which means every 1.3 hours, assuming all of these are staffed, we will make 6 planks. So every hour, it's like, we'll call it 4.5, maybe. I don't again, math, it just doesn't work. My brain does not work that way, and it never will. I have tried very hard for a very long time. Anyway, so I know I can support at least an equal number of gear workshops. We're probably not going to need to have 6 of those. I would imagine, well, 6 of these every 3 hours, you just divide that by 2, and then that's how many you need. Unless that's also wrong, which it could definitely be. I'm probably just going to build 6 of these. So that one would go there, this one would go here, 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 here. That would get me to 6. Honestly, that seems like it's probably the best option for right now. Obviously, we don't have the materials to build this stuff yet, because we do have to cut more trees down. We'll take care of that in a second. I just want to get this started before it becomes a huge, huge problem trying to figure stuff out. So I'll put those 5 in. This is waiting on... it's waiting on gears. Why else? Why else? So they can get rolling on that. Remember, this is not going to be here. Just need to make sure we have supply adequately. So these are not going to grow. But this is no longer contaminated on this side, so on and so forth. So I assume this was a good investment. This is not working because I have a levee here that this is not touching. We'll leave it alone. That's not quite empty yet. I just need them to cut down more trees, which means I need these guys to be able to access more stuff. Why in the world were these not marked for cutting? Find out next week on Dragon Ball Z. I haven't even watched that show in like 25 years. All I remember is there's a whole bunch of yelling because they had to buy time. That's going to... No, that's about to be flooded anyway, so this didn't matter. Let's not bother with that. Well, you know, maybe this is not the right place to be trying to do that. This actually is kind of accessible here now. These are not marked for cutting. Now they are, for lack of anything else. So why don't we just make this simple? Pop in, well, I thought I was going to be able to fit this in here. Pop in a couple of these guys. Let them cut what they need to cut, and move on. This is still completely full. That has been marked for cutting, but there's not available workers because we have still injuries. We've got a beaver storage. We gotta have more beaver storage. Favorite thing to do with these guys. Yeah, so we've got that there. I really need to design an actual housing thing, but that takes an amount of time I don't think people are willing to commit at this moment until I have other things fixed. So let's do, I guess, just one more there. I don't really have anywhere else without completely upending a bunch of stuff. Don't really have anywhere else to put one of these. Yeah, that's regrettable, but it is what it is. Where in the world am I supposed to stick? I could put a mini lodge in a couple of places. That's just one beaver. That's kind of a waste of space. Do I care about it being here? No. No, we'll just do that. That's going to flood a little bit. It's going to get us 6 more beavers. That'll help. I also, you know, don't need all of these going at the same time. I just objectively don't. That will help also. But we do need to automate this. So across the street, so to speak, from here, I want to have prodigious quantities of storage, which, with the underground piles, can actually be done beneath an overhang, but there is a height clearance, which I'm going to illustrate to you right now. You can do this, but I actually don't know if that is possible with dirt. Let's... Alright, well, guess what? It works. So, in an effort to kind of preserve what's happening here, make it not look completely stupid, I'm going to have this... come on, there we go. I'm going to have this excavated out. That's going to give me space for 1, 2, 3, 4 underground piles. We can have a couple for logs, we can have a couple for planks. And then on this side, we can do the exact same thing. Remember, this is going to also be a gear workshop, so we'll need to account for that. This is, yeah, that's a double thickness there, so that will work just as well. 1, 2, 3 here, and then 4 here. This will all be underground piles, and then we can bury those because, well, we have the ability, we have the technology, $6 million man, etc. We can put another stack of processing things on top here that, you know, probably are not going to be wood workshops, because that was one of the things I wanted to kind of keep up in that area because it has power. I think it would make sense to do paper and then printing presses and then also smelters, because we're going to bring all that metal in. But if we just kind of kept that up above here, maybe designed something with a little bit of nice symmetry, we'll see how that goes. We will have to allow them to just, you know, take their time on that. This area is looking better. Obviously, it's still poison. But when we have a drought, if we have a drought, then we can take care of that. But that will, of course, be something we'll have to come back to. So we are looking... We're looking okay. I really would like to get into building this this thing over here, but I don't know that it's smart until there's no flow. I wonder if it would be feasible to get in here to put a cap on this. We don't necessarily want to have it be permanently capped. Remember that for Folktales, the Badwater Dome can be opened or closed. But I just need to have one spot above it I can get to, and that would be 1, 2, 2, this spot right here. If I can get this corner, I think it was this one, is it? Yes. If I can get this corner exploded with a 2-piece of dynamite. Sounds like a Popeye's order. It'll be good, a 2-piece. Double dynamite all the way down. It's going to allow us to put in a Badwater Dome. I just need to be able to get over here, which, you know, last time I checked is kind of far, but I am going to put this here so we don't forget. I just remembered something we definitely need to do. Bowser Observatory. We got 46,000 science. We are not going to need any more. At least once I unlock everything, but I'd rather not unlock it until I know I'm about to build it, or else I'm going to forget that it's the same way as, you know, browser tabs, right? I've got 260-something browser tabs open. Please do not come and attack me at my home for my browser tab habits, but that is the only way I can think of to just remember that I'm supposed to be doing something. Because if I close it, it's no longer there and it no longer exists. To-do lists do not work. I have to be able to physically see it, which probably says a lot more about me than I would be comfortable knowing. But I digress. We're making progress over here. Actually pretty good progress. Just wait for this to be all done. And we don't have to worry about anything collapsing from above because terrain does have the support from itself for 3 blocks. So, all I gotta do is come in here and remove that. Get 110 planks back. We're gonna love to have those. Yeah, they're gonna pick those bad boys up off the ground. I don't really have a ton of gears, but fortunately I just built a ton of those things. I don't want to put this down here yet because it's going to do some stupid garbage like shove it 5 blocks up. So we'll wait. Then we'll get that one finished. Oh, I guess they're not going to do that tonight. Oh, that's annoying. It's at 80%, but that's fine. I got enough space for 6 of these. And you know what? Actually, because these 2 are in the middle here, and gears cannot go in an underground pile. Now, do I need storage for 2,400 gears? Objectively, I don't. 400 would probably not be enough. 1,200 maybe still too much, but look how symmetrical and nice this would be. Don't you love that? Doesn't it strike joy in your heart to know that there's perfect symmetry? We can enjoy that. Let's do that. That will go there. And this will, of course, be another couple of piles that I'm not going to try to move anywhere else. So, probably makes most sense for these to be logs and these to all be planks. These can just get popped here and then can just go right across the street, so to speak. Get that taken care of. And then it's not going to be that big of a deal for us to come on top of here. Get that done. Get that done. Obviously, they can't really get to this very easily unless I give them a pathway. But we have the technology. We can easily get this over here, which I probably only need to bring to this point for them to be able to build that. I think that is going to work out splendidly. So, logs here. That needs to be planks. These can all be set to obtain. Not that that's really going to be that big of a deal. Maybe I shouldn't have more than one of these be set to obtain. Maybe I'll just make this middle one obtain. Or maybe it won't matter because I'll have so many that we won't know what to do with them. I know we don't really need to worry about it, but I do want those to get picked up before it becomes a problem. Make it nice and easy that way. And there we go. So this will also be for planks. And getting the rest of the dirt in place, that's going to be fine. We will have to blast some of this out, and I do think I'm going to just have this be the walkway right here. So we want this to be 4 deep for the sake of the printing presses. But remember what I said about stuff maybe, you know, possibly looking nice as well. Printing press-wise, I don't think we're going to need a crazy quantity of these things. But I do want to have enough books and enough, especially, enough punch cards to maintain our bots here. If I just come straight from the middle, if I just flip these, want 1, 2, 3. Obviously, I don't want to build this right at this exact moment, but 4 might not be quite enough when we actually get into the nitty-gritty of actually using punch cards, depending on how many bots we're going to have. 4 printing presses for books would be way too many. I can promise you we don't need 4 for that. So why don't we... we also have to look at how we're producing paper. 1.6 hours for 2 pieces of paper. 1.5 hours, one of these uses... Ugh, I wish these numbers were easier for me to do in my head. 1.5 hours to get 1 book out of 1 piece of paper, so it's... One of these can't quite power. One of these can't quite feed 2 printing presses set up for books. But also, I feel like if I sit here and try to do the math on this, I'm just going to get mad. So, why don't we do this? Why don't we plan for 6 printing presses, which will give me, if I can remember how to do this, that'll give me 1 there. So this is already 2, the 3. This will be 4. This will be 5. Remember, I'm going to keep this paused so I can actually do something. And then the 6th will be here. This needs to be extended again so I can reach that. Yeah, that'll get me there. And then on the outsides we can have paper, which does need to be made from logs. Maybe 3,000 log storage isn't going to be enough. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. I'm going to keep this paused because we don't need to be doing that, but I do want to put this in. Alright, 6 printing presses. Possibly stupid, possibly not. But what I need to do now is put in paper mills. And we already established one of these cannot quite feed 2 printing presses making books. This is a much bigger problem. The 3/4 of an hour consuming 2 pieces of paper and 1 plank to make 2 punch cards. That's probably what's going to have to drive this. But I think a good place to start without, you know, having to commit math would be to have 6 paper mills. I think would make sense. Let's just pause this so I can take a minute to think. 6 of these would mean I would have to do... for it to be nice and symmetrical. I know. I can hear you now. Who cares if it's symmetrical? I cares. So if I did 1 here, then 1 here, obviously down 1 level, Same deal here. Same deal here. That would give me 6, and it would actually look kind of nice. And, you know, looking nice sometimes. Sometimes that's what you want to do. So if I take care of that, and then that, that'll give me my 6 I want, and then I just have to be able to get up and down at will. I need to be able to get from the other side around this. I think that's going to be okay. Let's, before we get too excited, let's put that wind turbine in, and then envision a way to get up here stairs-wise. Now, this is a doorway. This doesn't have to be a doorway. I can flip this one and then have this be a staircase to go up. And then another staircase here. But if this is going to be a walkway that actually has to connect, which, by the way, we should absolutely go ahead and build. This is the only, basically 100% required walkway up here. Everything else is just gravy past that. I am very curious, though, because I do not remember. Can I? No, I cannot. Okay. Well, you know, that answers the question. I was kind of hoping I could get away with it. I think, though, I can do that on this side. Because this is a slightly lower building. Oh, yeah. Yeah, remember what I said about symmetry being really great, and then I proceeded not to do that? Why don't we... I know. I know, I can hear your screams of anguish now. Why don't we invert this? I put the 6 of these in the middle. Not that this matters, it really doesn't, but put the 6 of these in the middle. I have to remember what side I have these on for the sake of my personal sanity. So I want the doorways to match, or I guess be reflected. And because that's going to be on that side, that means this one could be on this side. And again, it really doesn't matter. Oh, I forgot. Okay, that one. No, I choose life. I choose life. Let's not spend our time just stressing out about this. It's really not worth it. Pick up the pieces before you redo anything else, because I guarantee myself, if I don't pick them up, there we go, they picked them up, that was quick. If I didn't do it, they were absolutely going to get shoved, the remnants were going to get shoved in all these places I didn't want to deal with it, it was going to be a whole thing. Don't need to worry about it. So if I put those there, what I can actually do is on top of the gear stuff, which none of this has been built yet, I can have overhangs. And that is going to make it possible for us to have a lot nicer looking storage organization. Now, I can't build within the radius of the wind turbines, but I do need to check on that. I can put a 3x here. I should not be able to put a... Really? In what universe does that make sense? I don't have this research yet. Let's go ahead. There's no way it's going to let me. Okay, good. It actually, you know, isn't completely stupid. Alright, that has become very quickly a very appealing option. I'm just going to go ahead and get all these overhangs unlocked. Yeah. We'll go with the 3s. Go all the way across. And the reason this is going to be fine is because I just need to have storage up here for some quantity of goods. It doesn't have to be everything, but this right here is going to allow me to have a storage for paper, come on, there we go, a storage for books, and a storage for punch cards. This doesn't have to be the master storage, it's just going to be the storage for production. And I'm very glad I do not remember who it was. I'm not glad that I don't remember who it is. That was a poorly designed sentence. I'm glad that someone reminded me of doing this. And I need to set these as supply. Actually, no, the paper ones, it doesn't matter. But this for the punch cards And this for the books absolutely needs to be set for supply, because that's where they're going to be placed after they are made. These need to be set for gears, and they need to be set for supply. One of them does. So I'll just do that. Planks. One of these needs to be set for supply. Hey, and guess what? Because I moved these out here, we can do 1 for logs, 2 for logs. That's the obtain one. And then this one could actually be set for planks in the middle. And then this one could be set for... Oh, it's already set for planks on the outside. That one can also be set for planks on the outside, and this one can be for logs. Just so we have 3 and 3 still. I think that's probably fine. I just need to make sure I had that done, or I would regret that in the future. So... that solves that problem. What is not solved is the ability of getting up here. Which, you know what? I just put these back in with the things rotated the exact wrong way to do what I wanted to do. That's just a little bit frustrating. Maybe it doesn't matter, because I wanted to have this come across this way. I can't really, yeah, I can't build over this. I would have to have... I promise my brain is functioning. It's trying its best. I'm going to do this. I'm going to have this path come out this way, take this out, put a spiral staircase going up and to the right, and then this... No, that's not going to work. I can't do that. Yeah, I can't, because I still need to be able to come around on this level, unless I was going to do something else. Yeah, I think the only way to really solve this to the satisfaction of what I'm imagining in my head is to probably just completely redesign this, but I kind of like this. I'd like to just figure out a way to get a staircase where I want it to go. Because I can't have this go here, because I have to... If I'm going to have it on top of the underground pile, it has to have support from something... I could put an overhang here going that way. I could easily do that. But I kind of don't like that. I feel like I would... Okay, well, also, there's going to be a building here. So that needs to come out to here at the very least to get around that. Yeah, there's no scenario in which this ends up with a satisfactory result. Unless I have this come out from this side. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. That's going to have to be a double. This will have to be a single. And then that will be a spiral staircase here and here. Come up to this spot. This is a building. This will be behind the building. Or I just do this. I think for the benefit of everyone's collective sanity, this is going to be the best way to do this. Now, this one is already kind of set up in a manner that's going to be conducive to this. If I can figure out what in the world I'm doing. There we go. Yeah, that just needs to be a double. And then make sure that this is not... There we go. Alright, so we'll have one block behind this other paper mill. We can, I don't know, put something there. Yeah, and then this just has to be replaced. Yeah, that's going to be the easiest way to do this. Look at these guys go. I do not want them building this yet. I should have paused those. There we go. I want them to explode this, because then that's going to make it possible for us to build everything else without it being a huge pain in the butt. But they also need to explode everything else here. Okay, for kaboom. Etc. so on and so forth. Don't get blown up. It's your fault. Thank you. Yeah, turn right back around, because you're not doing anything else. Yeah, get that there. That's going to allow us to get upstairs, literally. Come over here. This little jog here probably isn't very efficient, but honestly at this point I don't think I care. We got a log storage over on this side, closer to the paper mills. There's log storage over here, closer to the paper mills. That should be fine. This getting built is probably what's going to take the longest because they have to be able to get across everything here, and that is going to take... Actually, maybe it's not completely terrible. I need to have more trees available for cutting, though, and I have not marked enough. Oh, we're still out of beavers, of course. So we got 300 beavers. I did pause that. That's very helpful. I don't need this here at all. That can be removed. These are deprioritized. So, you know, we really shouldn't have any problems with this unless... Yeah! Okay. That's what's happened. That is what has happened. Let's, that was the only one that was like that? No, it was not. Never mind. Never mind. Let's just fix this error here. You say you have nothing to cut. Survey says you're technically right, but also very wrong. Who else does not have anything to cut? Wait, why are... Oh, that's a lumber mill. Oh, everybody else is fine. Okay. Well, that is very good to know. It seems like we're actually making some decent progress here. Alright, the other question that we have to figure out a solution to is how do we get power up and over here? And, you know, you might be tempted to say, oh, just put it up between the windmills. No, no, you can't do that. Because there is a radius of interference here. Now, I do only need this in one spot, but just so we don't have to have this discussion again, I cannot go any higher than this. I say again as if anyone suggested it. No one suggested it, I just want to preempt it. Now I could come across up and over here. Depending on how artful we want to make stuff. Houses do transmit electricity. It's not electricity. Transmit power, mechanical force, somehow through the buildings. That's going to be a... I'm trying to imagine like the architectural implications of transmitting mechanical force through a dwelling. Does that imply that every single one of these houses that only requires logs to be built actually has a complex mechanism inside the wall, or is there a power shaft going through their dinner table, or what? Like how does this work? Anyway, it's a game with bipedal talking beavers, so we really should just suspend disbelief entirely and just accept that that's the way it's going to be. But the curiosity still pulls at me here. Anyway, I think the simplest solution, note that I did not say the best, simplest solution is to do something a bit like this. We'll bring in a platform here and then just kind of snake it up and around. Just like one of these kind of numbers here. I have to be able to build all of this, which is why I'm doing it this way. If you have any ideas to make it, you know, not a completely garbage solution-looking nonsense thing, then yeah, by all means, let me know. But this will be, in my opinion, the easiest way to do this. How much time have I spent? Oh, we're already almost at an hour. Okay, well, I did time-lapse part of this. Maybe it won't be quite such a bad thing. I just need to make sure I don't invest too many resources in building stuff I shouldn't be building. I need them to explode this so I can put the rest of these in and pause them so I don't actually build them. And then, since we're not going to have a drought today, it seems, just get this locked up so we can actually move on with our lives. I think this is going to be the best option that I can come up with. We can also kind of do a similar thing here, but I probably won't. We'll probably just let this be what it needs to be. I know it's not going to transmit any power unless the buildings are actually built and connected, and we're not there yet, and I understand that's how it is. But I also think it's not going to be an issue. So this is currently... Oh, another bad tide. This is currently going to be flooded unless I come over here. Remember, I was going to also put in provisions for raft-type stuff. But what I will do is I'm going to... Let's go 5 wide. Let's just make one of these numbers here. And create a diversion of sorts. I know this isn't going to be like a perfect setup, but it's going to be good enough coming back this far. So I will get this preemptively just zigzagged along in case we need to do something else. But if they can get all of this put in place, I think we're going to be in a good enough position to not have any flooding here, which is going to mean I can have this go all the way across. Well, I can already just build that, but let's let that be our access to this side before too long. Get the rest of these in place. No, they're not going to do it tonight. That's fine. I really need to build more farms, but that requires irrigation, which we don't technically have. All right, this is not close. Let's give ourselves a fighting chance here. Put 2 of those there. Hit pause on that for now. I just want them to be able to cut these down. It's very likely that all of this will be farmed at some point to support all of the stuff we're trying to do. Okay. Don't explode. Don't explode. Me talking to the beavers. Alright, that's fine. So this is technically working mostly. It's not going to do anything during a bad tide. We already know that. But it is, in theory, better than it was. We can get them to build across here. Let's actually prioritize that. Because I need to put these other wheels in on this side, and then I need to actually get everything else popped in. I'm not going to commit to this being the final layout, but I do need this accessible. Let's just get that popped in there. They cannot get to any of this yet, and they won't until they can go all the way across, and they won't until they have all of this taken. This is more than we're going to be able to do today, I can promise you that. I just need to have some amount of something else taken care of here. So, I'm going to go ahead and say this is about where we have to end today's episode. So do give me your thoughts on this whole industrial setup, my proposals for all this other stuff. I realize I do not have any metal smelting because of how I ended up designing this. But that doesn't mean we can't have it over here. I may also elect not to have it over here at all. But I did think it would be fun to have a whole lot of logs coming in on the rafts. Because, well, that's what you do. That's what, like, old-time logging is, right? You got these guys rolling logs down a river, or they'll put them all together in a float thing, a flotilla, whatever the actual term is. And they send it down to the mill to get processed. I thought that would be a neat thing to do here. I also want to make sure, of course, as always, that we acknowledge the beard boosters who support the channel and make it so I don't have to have sponsors. I don't have to do nonsense. We end up doing a fair amount of nonsense. But it's the fun kind. And not the, oh, I have to manipulate this to get views in the algorithm or blah, blah, blah. No. I want to have fun playing with beavers on the internet. And they allow that to be possible. So I really appreciate you, even if you're not on that list. I say it every time, but I feel like if I don't, then that one video somebody watches where I don't say that will be the one where they're like, oh, well, I want to feel important too. People should be allowed to feel important and feel valued. And you always will be, as a viewer on this channel. I'm very thankful you choose to spend time with me. So whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day, stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you back next episode for more of this. Take care. Bye-bye.